So next topic will be digital transformation with modern procurement strategies. This session will be conducted by Mr. Niraj Huthhesing, founder and managing director, Cygnet Infotech. Let me give a small brief about him. Mr. Niraj Huthhesing, founder and managing director of Cygnet Infotech, has a 3+ decades of experience spread over diverse industries like information technology, manufacturing, and chemicals. He had chartered Cygnet's growth towards a digital engineering solution provider in the field of tax and finance. His expertise is towards helping companies architect completely automated and futuristic tax tech solutions in the area of R2R, P2P, and O2C. So with this, we already have Mr. Niraj on board. Can we give him a huge round of applause, everyone? And the stage is all yours.
Hello everybody, and thank you so much for this opportunity. And I think Ajay set the context quite well for me to continue more onto the compliance based solutions. So I think that's a very interesting setup for me to continue. When we looked at it and what we are as an organization, so we are one of the largest players in terms of indirect compliance in India from the time the GST came into play. So we started with our GST solutions, our ASP solutions. We are also IRP, and wherein we help into the indirect tax compliance. Now, when we started doing that with the customers, the biggest challenge came in for the industry is that if you have to kind of approve a 5 lakh rupee PO or a 1 lakh rupee PO, it goes through multiple workflow processes. But when it comes to kind of writing off a kind of uncompliant vendor's input tax credit by an indirect tax professional while filing your returns, it does not go through any workflows. It's kind of things. And when we have seen this amount which is being written off because the vendors were non-compliant, it goes into millions and crores of rupees for many of the organizations. This initiated our conversation with multiple different companies across the India who are using our compliance solutions for the filing of their tax returns, that how can you help us into our source to pay journey. And this is where we kind of came up with a much modern source to pay solutions. We kind of developed it for some of the largest banks, some of the largest manufacturing company use it because it is a compliance first source to pay solution. Now 4 of the things that we kind of do is compliance, technology, managed services, and AI. Today, use of AI into every activity is kind of what people wanted, but should we use AI into every aspect? There are ethical issues, there are kind of challenging in terms of technology, there are data privacy issues. So how do we look at those areas? So these are the some of the pointers I'll try and cover into it. Now when we look at the biggest challenge in terms of compliance when it comes in or in terms of source to pay, the biggest failure point is human. Not having the right team to implement the source to pay solution within the organization is the biggest challenge. And as per the McKinsey report, 70% of the digital transformation projects fail because the right challenge is not there. And we have also seen that whenever source to pay solutions are being implemented in the organization, the biggest challenge is we do not get the desired results into 70% of the cases. It's a very interesting correlation, and the key point is having right leadership which will take care of that. The second point I would like to highlight is we always look at the short-term goals, even in terms of compliance, in terms of indirect tax. We have seen the short-term goals are kind of taking precedence in terms of what would be the long-term strategy. And today government is far higher in terms of technology usage for indirect tax compliance compared to the industry. So industry is much behind. The same is having a cascading effect into the source to pay solution. So how do you improve upon it? How do you kind of converge these 2 areas? That is a thought process which we need to look at it. The third point is everything is being done silos. Now when we talk about source to pay solution, it impacts the entire organization. It impacts your vendors, it impacts material, it impacts finance, it impacts business. It can disrupt the entire business. And when the solutions for it are looked at it in silos, that is a major challenge for the organization, because you need to kind of involve the entire stakeholders or all the stakeholders for the decision making into it. It's always looked at as a cost head, but we need to look at it much beyond, because efficiency needs to be brought in, digitization needs to be looked at it, and we need to look at it beyond that. Another area that is ethical consideration, because the price at which you are buying your material, the type of information that is there into your source to pay solutions is very, very important, and when it gets extracted into Excel files, moves through the emails and goes to places, it is a major challenge for you. So the ethical consideration is also something that needs to be looked at it onto it. Having a right data policy is very important, because today the amount of data that we are carrying is so huge that sometimes the conventional ERP systems are not able to kind of work with it. Having the right data warehouse implementation and using AI on top of it is something that you need to look at the point. And when we talk about AI, it is no more just a learner, it is creator and innovator. Means rightly pointed out, AI has its challenges in certain areas, but it has great advantages into multiple different areas as well. So that is something that we really need to focus on to it. When we talk about source to pay transformation, what I am saying is, it's always we talk about being digital, every organization talks about it, but it's important to talk about going beyond being digital. And at Cygnet, what we have done is we have created a playbook, what you should deploy for your kind of considerations into it. So I'll just go a slide back, and this is one particular model which I have seen lots of customers suffer over here. They buy the licenses, then they kind of have to work for the solutions companies to come and deploy it, and a kind of a magic is expected out of it. It never happens. If you are wanting to transform your source to pay solution, it has to be done in a phase wise, it has to be done in a piecemeal, and continuous improvement has to be brought into it. That is where you will see the maximum results out of it. It has to be done in a very collaborative manner. What we talk about is the functional knowledge is very, very important, and no company which comes in and says that we will automate your source to pay procedure would know your processes better than you. So unless and until your functional knowledge is completely involved in terms of this transformation, the transformation will not happen. At Cygnet, what we do is with our clients is that we co-ideate, co-create, co-innovate and co-evolve, because that is the kind of mindset that we have in terms of our implementations. The second part is breaking the silos of master data management, and this is the biggest challenge. Like the earlier speaker rightly touched upon that how much amount of compliance is important, and the biggest challenge that we are seeing in the indirect tax compliance space, which kind of gets inherited from the source to pay solution, is non-compliance of the master data. I have seen that more than 20% of all vendors which are being brought in out of the 2.5 crore plus GST registered vendors are there, 20% are non-compliant in nature, and if you do not have that data, 20% will comprise in terms of numbers, maybe in terms of value it may be 3 to 5% of the total vendors, but both are quite high numbers which actually needs to be looked at it and how you make it compliant. And the biggest two challenges I have seen when you are trying to make timely payment to your vendors, with income tax requirement coming in for SME, MSME to be made payments within 45 days, the TDS determination and the indirect tax input tax credit that you need to take, these are the two biggest challenge. Digitization of it and AI based solution around it are something which we are able to help our clients for that. The second point is the vendor supplier ecosystem in the client buyer ecosystem, and rightly said, we use kind of lot of ERP solutions inside. So one part of it is very process oriented, very digitized, but when we look about the ecosystem dealing with our clients, it is very challenging. In most of the cases when I discuss with some of our large customers, we do not even have the right email number, email ID and the mobile number of the client. That itself is a major challenge today, and the problem starts from that. So this is an area which needs to be focused, and you need to extend your ecosystem to your vendors by which they become part of it and they become more compliant into it. Data entry into ERP can be automated now at a highly stage, because lot of invoices, as far as the invoices are concerned, is automatically available from the GSTN portal, and using that in terms of automating your data entry into your ERP system is something you should really focus on, because that will save huge amount of time, that will ensure that the data that is being brought into your ERP system does not have any manual errors, and that is an area which will make you more compliant in your nature. Another area is account payable automation, because if you do not automate your account payable based on the compliance status of your vendor, it is going to be a very large loss to you as an organization in terms of the input tax credit that you will lose out. So this is one more area that you need to focus on to it. This type of automations are also possible in the complete process when we talk about S2P. So when we talk about S2P automation, it is not only in terms of bringing in a system, but integrating it and automating it, your ERP processes in kind of collaboration with those tools and tackles is very, very important to be taken care of it. Job work functions, if lot of you are getting job work done, and automating that as a process is also important, and kind of we need to work upon it. Alignment of managed services and tech, because lot of work is outsourced in terms of compliance, in terms of source to pay outside the organization, and if you kind of bring in the right kind of tech and the right kind of alignment between the two, it will be more beneficial to you as an organization. So these are the two aspects which we need to kind of take it. And multiple data transformation tools, RPA bots, connectors, there is so much amount of ecosystem available into it, wherein end-to-end processes can be seamlessly integrated. I have been working with some very, very large organization here, some of the largest organization in the country, means like if I take out of the Nifty 50, we work with 25 of those companies. And what we have seen is, when we talk to them in the first place, they said we are fully digitized, we are fully automated. But when we go into them, we start studying that processes, we start looking into the data points, we start identifying the more source points, then it comes in a kind of a challenge wherein lot of processes are being missed out. And there are so many additional data points which are available today, which can be used in terms of the compliance area. So using those, using these tools and using these systems is very, very important. I would like one particular point I want to highlight on this slide is data security is the most critical. So whatever applications that you are using, the application security, infrastructure security, data security, network security, advanced threat protection, and risk governance and compliance, we focus a lot in terms of process automation, but we don't focus to that extent in terms of security of our data, and this is an area which needs to get enough attention per se, because today the type of threats which is coming through spoofing, which is coming through a kind of malwares and other things, takes away so much amount of your data, and if you do not have a proper IT security policy in place, that is going to be a challenge in terms of your implementations, in case of your source to pay, in case of your ERP, or in case of your other compliance. And when we are kind of integrating our systems with so many different clients, we have seen them being on versions of ERPs which are so old, and when we talk about API level integrations and other areas, the security is so low in nature that it is huge amount of vulnerability to an extent, and if that is not taken care in terms of the implementation, then your data is going to be much at risk. What we always talk about at Cygnet is we should have a very uniform playbook for it. Whenever you want to implement a system, get a discovery done. Understand the current processes, very important to be done, identify gaps and create the business case preparation. If we try to do big bang implementations, it's bound to fail. We will not get results. We need to work at a micro level and identify the macro level goals that we are going to work onto it. Then assessment is key risk areas needs to be identified and kind of worked upon it. Then we kind of work towards transforming the data. The biggest challenge is master data and kind of quality of data are the two major issues that I have seen in terms of implementation. If these 2 pointers are taken care of it, you can transform and evolve the entire processes in much better way. So this is the kind of a methodology that we implement into any of our solutions. We productize or kind of all our products are solutionized to an extent which are compliance first in nature. So this all the 3 angles are taken care whenever we implement a system into the industry. And if you kind of want to have more conversations, we will be around at the booth over here. I am here till most of the day and we can have more conversations around it. If any questions, any quick questions, we have about 3 minutes time, we can take care of it. Otherwise, we can have a in-person conversation. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
So everyone, can we give him a huge round of applause? A louder one, please. Come on, let's bring back energy into the room. And thank you so much, sir. Now I would like to invite Mr. Vijay Sati, Head of Procurement, Nokia. Please join us for a small token of appreciation. We would love you to present to Mr. Niraj. Thank you so much.